Timothy, he wrote, I never leave off remembering you in my supplications, night and day longing to see you, as I remember your tears, that I may get filled with joy. For I recollect the faith which is in you without any hypocrisy. 2 3-5. Although having to contend with frequent illness, because of stomach trouble 1-5. 23. Timothy willingly expended himself in behalf of others. His fine qualities endeared him to the Apostle Paul, who very much desired Timothy's association when facing imminent death. 2-4. 6-9. Being relatively young, Timothy may have been diffident and hesitant about asserting his authority. Compare 1-4. 11-14. 2-1. 6, 7. 2. 1. This shows that Timothy was not a proud man, but appreciated his limitations. Timothy, Letters 2. 2 inspired letters of the Christian Greek scriptures addressed to Timothy by the Apostle Paul, who identifies himself as the writer in the opening words of each letter. 1-1. 1. 2-1. 1. The first letter was evidently written from Macedonia. A basis for assigning an approximate date for the composition of this letter is found in the first chapter, verse 3, which reads, Just as I encouraged you to stay in Ephesus, when I was about to go my way into Macedonia, so I do now. There is no mention of this in the book of Acts, which covers a period from the time of Jesus' ascension to heaven in 33 CE until the second year of Paul's imprisonment in Rome, about 61 CE. Accordingly, it seems that it was some time after his being released that Paul encouraged Timothy to stay in Ephesus, and then Paul apparently departed for Macedonia. This would place the time for the writing of 1 Timothy between the date of the apostle's release from his first imprisonment at Rome and his final imprisonment there, or about 61-64 CE. The second letter was composed at Rome during Paul's final imprisonment, likely c. 65 CE, or not long before his death. 2-1. 8, 17. 4. 6-9. Authenticity. The authenticity of 1st and 2nd Timothy is well established. All outstanding ancient catalogues, starting with the Muratorian fragment of the 2nd century CE, list both letters as canonical. Most important, these letters are in complete agreement with the rest of the scriptures and quote from them. They contain quotations from or allusions to Numbers 16. 5. 2-2. 19, Deuteronomy 19. 15. 25. 4. 1-5. 18, 19, Isaiah 26. 13. 2-2. 19, and the words of Jesus Christ, Mount 10. 10. Luke 10. 7. 1-5. 18. Noteworthy of the frequent references to faith 1-1. 2, 4, 5, 14, 19. 2. 7, 15. 3. 9, 13. 4. 1, 6, 12. 5. 8, 12. 6. 10-12, 21. 2-1. 5, 13. 2. 18, 22. 3. 8, 10, 15. 4. 7, as well as the emphasis on right doctrine 1-1. 3, 4. 4. 1-3, 6, 7. 6. 3, 4, 20, 21. 2-1. 13. 3. 14, 15. 4. 3, 5, conduct 1-2. 8-11, 15. 3. 2-13. 4. 12. 5. 1-21. 6. 1, 2, 11-14. 2-2. 22, pro 1-2. 1, 2, 8. 4. 5. 5. 5. 2-1. 3, and faithful endurance through suffering 2 8, 12. 2. 3, 8-13. Background for 1 Timothy. In about 56 CE, when meeting at Miletus with the older men of the Ephesus congregation, the Apostle Paul said to them, I know that after my going away oppressive wolves will enter in among you and will not treat the flock with tenderness, and from among you yourselves men will rise and speak twisted things to draw away the disciples after themselves. Act 20. 29, 30. Within a few years the situation regarding the teaching of false doctrines did become so serious that Paul encouraged Timothy to stay in Ephesus, that he might command certain ones not to teach different doctrine, nor to pay attention to false stories and to genealogies. 1 3, 4 Timothy, therefore, had to wage spiritual warfare inside the Christian congregation to preserve its purity and to help its members to remain in the faith. 1. 18, 19 He's applying the things mentioned in the Apostles' letter with o textoi acute miritra longo, Timothy, letters to 1107 faith, in chasteness and also had to be concerned about continuing to make advancement. 4. 12, 15, 16. 6. 11-14. Background for 2 Timothy. In 64 CE a great fire ravaged Rome, destroying about a fourth of the city. Rumor had it that Caesar Nero was responsible for it. To protect himself, Nero placed the blame upon the Christians. This appears to have prompted a wave of violent governmental persecution. It was likely about this time c. 65 CE that the Apostle Paul was again imprisoned at Rome. Though forsaken by many, suffering in chains, and facing imminent death 2 15, 16. 4. 6-8, the Apostle wrote an encouraging letter to Timothy, one that prepared his younger fellow worker to resist apostate elements inside the congregation and to stand firm in the face of persecution. 2. 3-7, 14-26. 3. 14. 4. 5 By learning about Paul's circumstances, Timothy would have been able to draw encouragement from the Apostle's good example of faithful endurance under great tribulation. 2. 8-13. Fearless in the strength of Jehovah, Paul exhorted Timothy. Stir up like a fire the gift of God which is in you through the laying of my hands upon you. For God gave us not a spirit of cowardice, but that of power and of love and of soundness of mind. Therefore do not become ashamed of the witness about our Lord, neither of me a prisoner for his sake, but take your part in suffering evil for counsel to a Christian elder regarding his responsibilities, written by the Apostle Paul evidently sometime after his release from his first imprisonment in Rome. Counsel for Timothy's own spiritual well-being. Wage spiritual warfare, maintaining faith and a good conscience. 1. 18, 19 Your concern should be, not with bodily training, but with godly devotion. Do not let others look down on your youth, but rather be a good example and make advancement. 4. 7b-16 Do not appoint someone hastily to a position, so as to avoid being a sharer in sins of others. 5. 22 Warnings against corrupting influences in the congregation. Command certain ones not to teach different doctrines, nor to pay attention to false stories and genealogies. 1. 3, 4 Certain ones have deviated from love and done hypocritical faith. They want to be teachers of law but lack understanding of its intent. 1. 5-11 In later periods of time there will be a falling away from the faith. 4. 1-5 Counteract wrong influences. Be nourished with words of faith. Reject false stories. 4. 6, 7 False teaching breeds envy, strife, abusive speeches, suspicions, violent disputes, and the use of what is godly for selfish gain. 6. 3-5 Flee from bad fruitage resulting from love of money. Fight the fine fight of the faith and resist false doctrine. 6. 11, 12, 20, 21 Qualifications for those appointed to serve as overseers and ministerial servants. Overseers' qualifications include his being irreprehensible, having only one wife, being sound in mind, orderly, hospitable, qualified to teach, self-controlled as to drink and temper, reasonable, not loving money, presiding well over his household, not being a new convert, and having a good reputation outside the congregation. 3. 1-7 Ministerial servants must be serious, not double-tongued, not heavy drinkers, nor greedy of dishonest gain, first tested as to fitness, free from accusation, presiding well over their households. 3. 8-10, 12, 13 Instructions regarding various congregation needs. Prayers should be offered for all sorts of men, including rulers, to the end that Christians may live peaceably with godly devotion. It is God's will that all sorts of men should be saved too. 1-4 There is only one God and one mediator, Jesus Christ, so men offering prayers should lift up loyal hands, apart from wrath and debates. 2. 5-8 Women should dress in a modest, becoming manner, reflecting reverence. O texto e acute miritra longo. 10-11 The good news according to the power of God. 2-1. 6-8. 10. A faintly bluish-white metal that is very malleable. Of the 6 products of the ancient metallurgist's furnace, tin had the lowest melting point of all, only 232 degrees C, 449 degrees F. S22. 18, 20 The original Hebrew word betil means that which is separated or divided, that is, from precious metals by smelting. It is also translated waste products. Issa 1. 25. There were no tin mines in Palestine. The first reference to tin, soon after the Exodus, includes it among the valuable spoils of war taken from the Midianites. New 31. 2, 22 The Tyrians obtained tin from Tarshish. As 27. 12 Much of the heavy dark oxide of tin called cassiterite came from river sands in Spain and England. Tin, it appears, was used to make plummets, for at Zechariah 4. 10 which speaks of the plummet. The Masoretic text reads, the stone or, weight, the tin. In Amos 7. 7, 8 The Hebrew word translated plummet may mean tin or lead. Tin's greatest usefulness, however, was as a hardening agent. Copper alloyed with 2-18% tin has been found in ancient specimens of bronze. Tipsa. 1. A place at the extreme end of Solomon's kingdom. 1 Kai 4. 24 Some tentatively identify it with Dibsa on the Euphrates River, about 90 kilometers 56 miles of Aleppo, and about the same distance from the confluence of the Euphrates and Balik rivers. 2. A place, apparently in the vicinity of Tiza, that was struck down by Israel's king Menahem c. 790-781 BCE. 2 Kai 15. 16 Its exact location is not known. But Tafsa, about 10 kilometers 6 MWSW of ancient Shechem, bears a similar name, but appears to be too far from the assumed site of Tiza to be the location of this Tipsa. Tyras Tiras. One of the 7 sons of Japheth. GE 10. 2. 1 Ch1. 5 The people who descended from Japheth's sons were later spread about in their lands, each according to its tongue. GE 10. 5. Generally, scholars of the present day consider Tyras to be identified with the Tyre Noi of classical Greek writers, also called Tyre Rhe Noi. The Tis Noi were a seafaring people of the islands and coastlands of the Aegean Sea. Encouragement and counsel to help Timothy remain firm in the difficult times ahead. The last inspired letter written by Paul, during his second imprisonment in Rome. Encouragement for Timothy to keep making progress. Stir up like a fire the gift of God that you received. Do not be ashamed of the witness about Christ, or of Paul as a prisoner. Take your part in suffering for the good news. 1. 6-8 Guard the pattern of health for words. 1. 13, 14 Like a soldier, be single-minded. Like an athlete in the games, contend according to the rules. Be like the hard-working farmer. Endure faithfully. 2. 3-13 Do your utmost to present yourself approved to God, handling the word of truth aright. 2. 15 Flee from desires of youth, but pursue godly qualities in company with those who call on the Lord out of a clean heart. 2. 22 Counsel to help Timothy stand firm against false teachers. Avoid fights about words and talk that violates what is holy. With mildness, try to recover those ensnared by the devil. 2. 14, 16-26 In the last days there will be critical times hard to deal with because of the wicked attitudes of people. They will be lovers of money and of pleasures rather than lovers of God. Shun such people. 3. 1. 7 These corrupted men will go on resisting the truth. but stick to what you have accepted as true, because you learned it from people you knew well and from the inspired scriptures. 3. 8-17 Persevere in preaching the word, evangelizing, fully accomplishing your ministry. Even though times are coming when men will not want to listen to healthful doctrine, but will prefer having their ears tickled by teachers of their own choosing. 4. 1-5 Paul's circumstances as a prisoner. O textoi acute muritra longo, tithe 1109 tyratites tirath middle. Ites. A Kennet family of scribes living at Jabez. 1 ch 2. 55. Tyhaka ter middle. Hakar. Usually identified as Pharaoh Dahaka, although the dates generally assigned by modern historians to Dahaka's rule do not fit biblical chronology. For evidence favoring biblical chronology over the secular, see chronology, Bible chronology and secular history. During Hezekiah's reign, while Assyrian king Sennacherib was fighting against Libnah, news came that Tyhaka, the Ethiopian king of Egypt, was on his way to fight the Assyrians. 2 Kai 19. 8, 9. Issa 37. 8, 9 An Assyrian inscription, though not mentioning Tyhaka, indicates that Sennacherib defeated the forces that came from Egypt and captured the charioteers of the king of Ethiopia. The next Assyrian king, Esarhaddon, boasted about his conquest of Egypt, saying, "Its king, Tyhaka, I wounded 5 times with arrows hots and ruled over his entire country." During the reign of Esarhaddon's son and successor Ashurbanipal, Tyhaka revolted against submission to Assyria. But, according to Ashurbanipal, the terror of the sacred weapon of Ashur, my lord, overcame Tyhaka where he had taken refuge, and he was never heard of again. Ancient Near Eastern Texts, edited by J. Pritchard, 1974, pages 287, 288, 290, 295. Diana Terha Middle. Na. Child of Caleb by his concubine Maacah. Of the tribe of Judah. 1 ch 2. 3, 48. Tiriaturai Middle. A son of Jehalelel in the genealogies of Judah. 1 ch 4. 1, 16. Tushatatur Middle. Shatha. The Persian title for the governor of a jurisdictional district. In the 5 times it is used, it is preceded by the Hebrew definite article ha, making it in English the Tushata. The officials mentioned in the Bible by the title Tushata ruled over Judah, one of the Persian provinces. Zerubbabel was evidently the Tushata mentioned in Ezra 2. 63 and Nehemiah 7. 65, 70. Later when Nehemiah became governor he was the Tushata and is referred to as such at Nehemiah 8. 9 and 10. 1. Tirzah Tirzah from a root meaning take pleasure. Approve. 1. One of the 5 daughters of the Manasseh Zelophehad. A contemporary of Moses and Joshua. New 26. 29, 33. 27. 1-7. 36. 11, 12. Jos 17. 3, 4. 2. A city in Samaria. Archaeological evidence seems to favor identifying it with Tel El-Fa'ar, about 10 kilometers 6 mi of Shechem. Under the command of Joshua, the Israelites defeated the king of Tirzah. Jos 12. 7, 24 centuries later, Jeroboam, the first king of the northern kingdom, transferred his residence to Tirzah. Compare 1 Kai 12. 25. 14. 17. Tirzah evidently continued to be the capital of the northern kingdom during the reigns of Jeroboam's son Nadab. 1 Kai 15. 25-28 and his successors Baasha, Elah, and Zimri. 1 Kai 15. 33. 16. 5, 6, 8, 15 The last of these kings, Zimri, committed suicide at Tirzah when Omri captured the city. 1 Kai 16. 17-20 After reigning in Tirzah for 6 years, Omri built Samaria and made that city his capital. 1 Kai 16. 23, 24, 29 More than 150 years later, Menahem, a resident of Tirzah, killed Shalom and became king in Samaria. 2 Kai 15. 14, 17. Tishbite. evidently an inhabitant of Tishbe, apparently a village of the Jordan, in the land of Gilead. The term Tishbe is applied to Elijah in each of its 6 occurrences. 1 Kai 17. 1. 21. 17, 28. 2 Kai 1. 3, 8. 9. 36. Tishri. Seathanim. Tithe. A 10th part, or 10%, given or paid as a tribute, especially for religious purposes. The Bible tells of 2 instances prior to the setting up of the law covenant in which a 10th part of possessions was paid to God or to his representative. The first of these was on the occasion when Abraham gave Melchizedek 1/10 of the spoils of his victory over Chedorlaomer and his allies. GE 14. 18-20. The Apostle Paul cites this incident as proof that Christ's priesthood according to the manner of Melchizedek is superior to that of Levi, since Levi, being o textoi acute miritra longo, tithe 11/10 tithe was paid, since no income was anticipated. La 25. 1-12. However, some scholars believe there was only 1 tithe. Such tithes were in addition to the first fruits they were under obligation to offer to Jehovah. Acts 23. 19. 34. 26. The first tithe, consisting of 1/10 of the produce of the land and fruit trees, and evidently of the increase of the herds and flocks, was brought to the sanctuary and given to the Levites, since they had no inheritance in the land, but were devoted to the service of the sanctuary. Law 27. 30-32. New 18. 21, 24. The Levites, in turn, gave a 10th of what they received to the Aaronic priesthood for their support. New 18. 25-29. Evidently the grain was threshed and the fruit of the vine and of the olive tree was converted into wine and oil before tithing. New 18. 27-30. NE 10. 37. If an Israelite wished to give money instead of this produce, he could do so, provided he added an additional 1/5 to the valuation. Law 27. 31. But it was different with the flock and the herd. As the animals came out of the pen one by one through a gate, the owner stood by the gate with a rod and marked every 10th one as the tithe, without examination or selection. Law 27. 32, 33. It seems there was an additional tithe, a second 10th, set aside each year for purposes other than the direct support of the Levitical priesthood, though the Levites shared in it. Normally it was used and enjoyed in large measure by the Israelite family when assembling together at the national festivals. In cases where the distance to Jerusalem was too great for the convenient transport of this tithe, then the produce was converted into money and this, in turn, was used in Jerusalem for the household sustenance and enjoyment during the Holy Convention there. 12. 4-7, 11, 17, 18. 14. 22-27. Then, at the end of every 3rd and 6th years of the 7-year sabbatical cycle, this tithe, instead of being used to defray expenses at the national assemblies, was set aside for the Levites, alien residents, widows, and fatherless boys in the local community. 14. 28, 29. 26. 12. These tithing laws binding on Israel were not excessive. Nor should it be overlooked that God promised to prosper Israel by opening the floodgates of the heavens if his tithing laws were obeyed. Mal 3. 10. 28. 1, 2, 11-14. When the people became negligent as to tithing, the priesthood